Welcome to Lessons from Leaders here on Cuppa TV. I'm Yasmin London, your host for this series. Today we're talking to some incredible leaders who are championing women's empowerment in the workplace. So grab a cuppa and let's dive into these important conversations. This conversation is brewed in partnership with Nespresso Professional because every workplace deserves a great cup of coffee. Women face unique challenges when managing and protecting their finances. In this episode, financial coach and advocate Betsy Westcott explores how women can take control of their finances, build wealth, and navigate their financial futures with confidence. Betsy, it's so awesome to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
So much to talk about when it comes to women's financial literacy and empowerment. But I wanted to start by asking you, what does women's empowerment mean or look like to you?
It means to me choices. Ultimately, when I think about women's empowerment, it's around having the freedom to make choices around what's best for them, whether that's around their career, their family, their lifestyle, education, or their finances. Because when women are empowered to have more choice in their life, it not only benefits the individual, but it means that they raise more healthier families, stronger communities, a more resilient economy. Everybody benefits. And so, if we were to think about, okay, well, how could we build a more resilient economy? Well, if we could just support women to have a greater level of participation in the workforce, maybe even raise it to the same level as Australian men, that would actually contribute $60 billion in additional GDP every year. Imagine, I think there'd be a lot of politicians that would love to see GDP do that. And so, okay, how do we do that? We need to have more flexible work arrangements available to women and men, actually, because when you think about raising families, there's a few people involved in that. Better parental leave policies, better transition back to work policies. And that's just one small element. But if we can empower people to have access to the support, the education, the resources to make the right choices for themselves, not only will the individual thrive, but so will Australia. It's about Australia reaching its full potential through the empowerment of women.
I absolutely love that. I love it that it is all about reaching people's full potential. It's about making sure that women have choice. And you mentioned, structures and frameworks as well that help women fully participate in work. One of the other things I think that's spoken about a little less is this invisible issue of the mental load for women. There's obviously workplace requirements, there's participation day to day, the things that they've got to do in their lives, but it's the mental load a lot of the time that can be quite debilitating. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's invisible, right? So if you can't name something, you can't change something. So how do we first of all make people aware of all the things that they're doing? In Australia, women are responsible for 62% of the unpaid labour that goes on, whether that's running a home, caring for children, elderlies, planning and administering your lives. I don't know if anyone's been on a school WhatsApp group, but that is time-consuming.
Our school WhatsApp group, tried 10 school WhatsApp groups. This is the thing, right? It's a lot.
It's giving me anxiety just thinking about it. So how do we make this visible? Now, there are emerging better tools and resources to help there. There's calculators where you can work out online what would it cost for you to pay someone to do all that unpaid labour. There's tools, there's a great book by Eve Rodsky called Fair Play, and she's got a deck of cards where couples can sit down and go through this deck of cards, and it shows you all the jobs that are to be done and takes you through how to identify and then delegate the work. This is beneficial because when we have time and capacity and we're not sort of overwhelmed and overloaded and circuit breaking with all the things to do, we can look after our health, we can nurture our relationships, we can make better decisions in the day-to-day. And when that happens, everyone thrives and benefits as a whole. And that's why it's so important for workplaces to talk about these things and address them, for families and couples to talk about and address them, and then at a political level, what can we do to help society to function better?
so important because I think we need to move beyond this sort of concept of a motherhood penalty to a caregiver penalty. As you mentioned, it's not just about caring for kids, it's absolutely everything else. And the bandwidth that comes along with that and the self-care that women miss out on. And one of the things that I wanted to ask you about is financial well-being, because it is really crucial for independence and security. And it's probably one of those things that women put off all the time because they're too busy to think about it. What are some of the most common financial challenges that you find women go through?
Women do face unique hurdles when it comes to achieving financial well-being. So the first is that pesky old gender pay gap that still persists.
Where are we at with that? What's the percentage now?
So if you look at the total remuneration, which I think is the most helpful one, so it looks at the day-to-day pay plus bonuses, overtime, all of that. According to the Workplace Gender Equality Agency, it's about 23.1%, which is a lot of money on a given day-to-day basis. But when you think about the compound effect of those lost earnings, which means you have less money to spend, less money to invest, less likely to create and grow your wealth, it's quite profound. So if a woman in Australia today has a child, then she can expect to earn $1 million less than her male counterparts, regardless of whether he has kids or not, because of that gender pay gap, career disruptions, caregiving responsibilities. So it's real dollars.
It really is. And I think that key is, as you said, the compound of that. You might think, 1 year or 2 years isn't too bad. But when you look over I guess a caregiving period of having kids over 5, 10 years for some women, that's a huge amount of money that they're missing out on.
It's huge. So it's that gender pay gap, the career disruptions, the expectation of doing the unpaid caregiving work, all of that compounds to lower retirement savings, which is problematic because you're retiring with less money. Women on average have higher medical expenses and they live longer. On average, women live 5 years longer than men. So you've got less money and you've got to make it last further. And this is all compounded by women having lower financial literacy levels. So women are often very good at making money and saving money, but we forget to teach them how to invest and grow money, or they just don't have the time or the mental capacity with all those responsibilities to do it. Housing and the rising cost of living detrimentally impacts or disproportionately impacts women, particularly single mothers or women of retirement age. And one of the results of that is women over 55 are the fastest growing cohort experiencing homelessness.
Incredible.
So there are all these little individual things, and the way to tackle it is we need individuals to sort of take action themselves to try and mitigate and manage some of these challenges. But then at a societal level, how do we create systemic change that can start shifting the dial around these things as well?
Now, in terms of how women can step forward, how they can help themselves, one of the issues that we see is they're not always confident in negotiating their salary. They're not super confident in stepping forward and asking for their worth. What practical advice could you give women in these situations to successfully negotiate a pay rise?
Yes. So first of all, be compassionate with yourself if you're not feeling very confident around negotiating a pay rise, because it's a skill, something that you need to go, this is a skill that I need to acquire and I can acquire it. So there's 3 components of how to negotiate a salary. One, do your research. Know what the market rate is for the role that you do in your industry and also in your location, because pay grades can really vary depending where you're based. So do that research and know where you sit compared to the market. The second thing is know your worth, your value. What have you contributed in your role? Because that's what your employer really wants to hear is, how have you shifted the dial? How have you brought meaningful value to what you do? So have you solved a big problem? Have you improved a process? Have you won new deals and new business for the company? Have you increased customer satisfaction? And let me tell you, if you can make that really measurable, that is going to be music to your employer's ears. So be really specific. Then the third thing is the timing and the delivery of how you ask for this pay rise. Make sure that you practice the delivery with a friend or a mentor. Choose the timing well. So if it's performance review time, if you've just won some new business, or if you know that the company's setting budgets, that's a great time to do it. And then keep it focused on your performance and the facts surrounding the business. Try not to bring in personal or emotional needs to it. and you're going to have a lot better chance of success. And remember, it's a two-way street. So you might put your request forward and you might get a no initially. That's okay. Don't panic. Go, what do you need to see as my employer for you to feel like you can meet this request? What other benefits could I negotiate instead? Really have a nice conversation about it and don't be deterred by the first no.
Now, planning for major life milestones is a really big part of this process. You know, we've got obviously kids and they can create a lot of financial strain over a number of years. Yeah. What are some other tips that you can give everybody to prepare financially? How can we help women minimise the impact of these life events?
Yeah, and it might be kids, it might be pivoting to starting your own business, any kind of major life change, or it might be, you know, changes in responsibilities at home, moving cities. Like everything, a good solid plan is going to make it a lot smoother as a transition and give you flexibility, because I think there's like an old military saying, no plan survives contact with the enemy. Not saying that the children are the enemy, but you know.
Sometimes they are, let's be honest.
Sometimes you're like, maybe. But it's around being able to respond to changing dynamics. And how do you do that? Have a good plan, build some buffers in. So if we use the example of starting a family, you might want to start by doing some research. What does it cost to raise a family, from the medical expenses, allied health, the sort of the care involved, the equipment you need? Also looking at the impact of that taking time out of the workforce, not only on your day-to-day budget, which will be profound, but also your long-term wealth creation aspirations. Then look into, okay, this is what it's probably going to cost. Get cozy with your budget now, what's happening financially in your world, but then look at, well, what resources are available to support me, us, as we navigate this. So does your workplace have a paid parental leave policy? Do they offer flexible working arrangements? What's the transition back to work process like? Then what sort of social services are available to me, whether that's the government paid parental leave, the family tax benefits, the list goes on. And then from there, you've got a bit of a plan. It's time to, you know, make sure everyone in the home is on board. So if you're having a baby with a partner, make sure that you're both on board and aligned with that vision. How can you share and balance the workload, the financial impact, and then start building up some buffers as you sort of transition into that plan. So can you be putting some money aside now? Can you make extra contributions to your super? And just allow yourself some flexibility to navigate that with as much ease as possible.
One of the things that happens to many families is we have children that are born, parents that go on leave, but then once we return to work, the cost of childcare for families is absolutely incredible. I know from my own experience, we knew we'd have to go into the red for a while for me to continue working. What are your thoughts on the responsibility between government and workplaces in this context to support families through this process?
Oh, this is such a big question, isn't it? And I'm with you. Like, I've got 2 kids now, and we have been living off savings during this period to fund it. It's not an easy time. So why don't if there is any families out there that are freaking out about living off savings or going into the red for a bit, it's normal. So that's why it's really important to do that planning up front. I think for governments, there's some really good conversations having around how do we make access to childcare universal, because it shouldn't be something that is reserved for the privileged few. And we know the benefit that if women can participate or both parents can participate in the workforce, that's going to boost GDP. The Parenthood, which is an agency that advocates to make childcare more accessible, have shown through their research that for every $1 invested in making childcare accessible, you get $2 back on GDP. So I think we need to look at that, treat it like primary school or any other kind of school education, and make sure that there's a government version available. For workplaces, it's all around how can we support people to juggle the career and parenthood, and for both, for everyone in the family, it's not just a mum thing. So do you have flexible working arrangements? Do you have really good parental leave policies, not just maternity, because it's for all the parents? And then how do you support families in transitioning back to work? Because it's financially a strain on time, and the juggle of getting everyone where they need to go, that's a strain. And emotionally, it's a big strain. And that's not going to lead to productive workers and keeping people in the workforce. At a family level, it's also remembering that this is a family expense. It's not the mother's expense. So often I hear people go, oh, it doesn't make sense for me to work because the cost of childcare versus the money that I make, it just doesn't stack up. Well, why are we comparing it against one salary? This is a family expense. Plus, the long-term benefit of staying in the workforce, keeping those skills relevant, keeping those networks alive on a woman's and a family's, or an individual and a family's long-term career prospects, financial security are so much more than that short-term pain of the expense of childcare. So yeah, government, universal childcare, workplaces, very good policies. And also we need leaders to parent loudly.
Yes.
So a lot of workforces, you've got to act like you don't have a family, but actually most of you do. And we need male and female leaders to parent loudly, normalize this and just recognize it's a juggle. But there's a great value brought by these employees. They tend to be very efficient workers. So make sure that we're doing that and sort of normalizing parenting. And then on that family level, keep that long-term perspective alive and keep that family perspective alive, not just an individual's.
I really love that. And I love this concept and visibility, in a family, but your comments on leaders parenting loudly. No matter who we are in businesses, we've got to recognize as leaders, people are watching our actions, and the influence that we have as role models is really, really critical. So being that person that says, I'm going out at 3 p.m. today to go to my child's rugby game, or I'm going to the Christmas carols, whatever that might be, allows other people to feel like they have permission to be that parent too. And that's incredibly important. You've given me 3, but I want to get one more from you. If you could think of one thing that everybody listening today or could do to support women, or that a woman could do for herself to grow their wealth and achieve that, I guess, financial independence, what's the one thing?
One thing, invest. I'll say it louder for the back row. Invest. But seriously, there's 3 rules to have financial well-being. Make money, keep some money, grow money. And again, as women, we're really good at the make and keep. We're great little savers, very good at being frugal and smart with our money. But it's the investing that is your ticket to financial freedom. Because if you just leave your money sitting in a savings account, and we've got things like the cost of living rising and inflation at play, your money and your buying power is deteriorating in value over time. So whilst it's always important to have some cash savings there, you really want the rest of your money to be invested in assets that can grow and really build your wealth over the time. And the sooner you can get started at it, and it doesn't need to be a lot of money, as little as $50 if you're using a micro investing platform. But the sooner you get started, the more time you have to benefit from the magic of compounding returns. And that is really the secret to wealth. Like if I could have started investing when I was 5 years old, I would be so wealthy now.
Could teach our kids.
I know, that's it, teach your kids. So, do it, get started early. And by doing so, you're gonna build that confidence and realize money's actually not that complicated. Like the finance world would love for you to believe that it's really complicated and difficult and you need to rely on someone else to make it happen. No. If you got through grade 5 math, you've got all the smarts within you to invest really successfully and savvily and build up that financial freedom that you love. And there's so many platforms and resources out there. It's never been easier to become a successful investor. So just do away with the excuses. Decide, okay, I'm going to do one thing. Maybe it's making a voluntary contribution to your super fund, but one thing to grow your money, build that muscle and keep going.
Sometimes it's just all about mindset, isn't it?
Massively. Yes.
Well, you've given me some incredible tips, and everybody listening today, I've absolutely loved it. My goal for 2025 is to invest so I can become a freak in the sheets. My favourite takeaway from today. Thank you so much, Betsy. It's been amazing chatting to you.
Thanks, Yas, and good luck with the investing.
Thank you. What an incredible conversation. It's amazing to see how leadership and collective action can empower women and create a more inclusive world. Join us next time on Lessons from Leaders for more transformational and inspirational conversations. Until then, I'm Yasmin London. Take good care.